And as I said, my salary in Dubai was 73,000 dirhams, which is a rich salary, at least how I look back. And you don't pay any tax on that.
You're getting this kind of salary, they would say, is it monthly or are you talking about annual salary?
You're not enjoying life. You're just being a miser. You're saving every dollar, not having an abundance mindset. When do you start spending money on yourself? My daughter would come back and say, okay, that parent gave a Range Rover and you are giving me a $50 Amazon card. Have you lost your mind?
That whatever they were asking for one kid, we had a trip with a family of 5 to the UK and back for 2 weeks, and they were asking almost the same amount for one kid.
Another mistake was one of my colleagues bought an expensive car for themselves. And when I met them at the office parking, I was like, oh, you changed your car? You upgraded your car? He was like, yeah, it was my birthday yesterday and I thought I'll gift myself. I was like, I went and I bought a Nissan Patrol for around 300,000 dirhams.
1,000 dirhams.
Of course, I couldn't afford it. When I bought the car, I realized in 6 months that I don't like cars. Hello friends, my name is Bahroz. I'm a finance executive by profession and welcome to my channel where I share with you how you can go about achieving career and financial success. Now today's video is a recorded podcast that I had with one of my good friends, Wali Khan, who has a YouTube channel as well. And in today's video, we talk about my journey in Middle East and then moving to Canada, how I left Dubai despite a high income, no tax income, almost broke, and was able to create or increase my wealth 4 times, making myself a millionaire in 6 years while I was in Canada. Because usually you expect that you are in Canada, there is high taxation, there is low income, so it's difficult to make wealth. While when you're in Middle East where the wealth levels are high and the income tax is not existent at all, you expect someone to make more wealth in Middle East versus in Canada. For me, it was completely reverse. And the reason was I was not financially savvy when I was in Middle East. And I became financially savvy when I was in Canada. So it doesn't matter how much you earn, it all matters how savvy, how smart you are with your money. And I taught myself to become master of money, and that is what I teach on my channel as well. Now, before moving forward, in case you find any value from this podcast, please press the like button along with the subscribe button so you get notified as soon as I put new content on this channel, which is pertaining to career and financial success. Also, make sure to check out Wali Khan's channel as well. I will leave the link to his channel in the description of this video. Now, without further wait, let's get into the podcast.
So, Bahroz, I was talking to Batul in our podcast on my Urdu channel. I'm sure people who are on this channel, on your channel, they must be knowing that you've got an Urdu channel as well and I've got an Urdu channel as well, and this is our English gig that we're doing on YouTube. So what surprised me and that baffled me, the thing that she told me about your wealth, exactly, that it has quadrupled, if I may say that, while you were in Canada and the US, while that was in a disarray while you were in Dubai, which was actually a shock to me, that people actually come to Dubai to make money and go to Canada or the US, or not to the US, let's say, go to Canada to just get the passports or PRs or whatever the case is. So what was your story actually behind this?
Yeah, well, if I just take a step back, so I was in Dubai for around 7 years and I left Dubai in 2017. And I was working with Procter & Gamble. I was head of finance for the IMEA region, India, Middle East, Africa and Pakistan for a big business unit. And I was making good money in Dubai. But by the time I decided to leave Dubai, I was leaving almost with nothing. And let me give you some facts as well, some numbers as well. So for instance, in Dubai, towards the end of it, like of course when I came to Dubai, I had certain salary, but towards the end of it in around 2017 when I was leaving Dubai, my salary was around 75,000 dirhams per month, everything included. And which for me is a big check. And when I tell any friend or anyone that this is the kind of money I was making, they kind of have an understanding that I would be carrying a lot of wealth with me. And for them, it was very easy to say, okay, if you're moving to Canada, if you're making that choice to move to Canada, this should be an easy choice for you because you are a rich man. But you and I know there is a big difference between being rich and between being wealthy.
Yes.
So I was rich, but I was not wealthy at all. And I was not ready for the adventure that I was looking or I was moving into with regards to Canada. Because as you rightly said, when people are making such a big move, they are counting on their savings. They are counting on their wealth because they know it will take them some time to get a job. It will take them some time to settle there. And it may also take them some time to get the kind of income that they're making here. Or maybe that income never happens for them at all, because the kind of incomes you make in Dubai, you don't get them in Canada. And even if you get them after tax basis, you will never be a good match. Like, you may get a good gross income, but the net income eventually ends up being not that great. And when I was leaving Dubai, as I said, I was rich, but I was not wealthy, which means that I wasn't carrying with me a lot of savings, and hence it was a big challenge for me. And as I said, my salary in Dubai was 73,000 dirhams, which is a rich salary, at least how I look back, and you don't pay any tax on that.
Exactly. This $73,000 dirhams salary is something which people sometimes, if you tell a regular guy in Dubai that you're getting this kind of salary, they would say, is it monthly or are you talking about annual salary? So this is that kind of salary.
So and if you adjust it for inflation, like 2017, it's been around 7 years now. I would say it would be easily 85 or 90,000 dirhams per month, which is again a massive number. So from income wise, my income was very good, but it was all as I say on my channel as well, and you've spoken about it on your channel as well, that the first thing that you need to fix is your savings. Not the income, not the investments. If there's a hole in your savings, in your lifestyle, no matter how much money you earn, it will all be leaking out. I was young and I was foolish. I thought I would be able to always be as young, as strong as I am today, not realizing that I will eventually have kids, I will make a family, and I will start to turn old and old as well. And at that time, my career was flying as well. So I always imagined that my career would be on the same trajectory. And maybe for many people it is the case, but it would be very hard, and I would be very hard pressed to find someone who can have a flawless career. Like, you have good times, but there are always bad times. And Wally, this is what happened. This is the reason I started my channel. This is the reason I started my side income and my focus on wealth. And I started learning about wealth. I had no idea about money before 2017. Because when I moved to Canada, and I had enough money to just get a house, average car, a 5-year-old driven car, and some money in the bank to survive for 6 months to a year at max. But I would have sleepless nights because I am now 33 years old. I have 2 kids, and my wife, who's not worked in Dubai, not worked for 5-6 years, so she doesn't have an experience. Now everyone in my family is relying on me, and I would have sleepless nights. It took me 1.5 months to find a job, and during that 1.5 months I was not able to sleep well, and I promised myself that never again I would put myself in this situation, because this was a personal choice. I decided to leave Dubai, I decided to move to Canada. However, there could be an instance where this happens just because the company decides to fire me or fire a bunch of people, and I would not want to be in that situation again where I can't sleep at night. So I promised myself that here from 2017 onwards, I will make sure that I learn about money, I learn how to invest, I learn how to make money, and I learn how to save money. And because of all that, I'm in a position where my wealth is almost, I can call myself a millionaire easy. So it's far more than $1 million. And I'm in a position not to retire today because I may need some more, but I'm in a good position that if my company says goodbye Bahroz today, I can survive very well without losing an inch of sleep.
Wow, that's inspiring. But just to expand on that, as you were saying while you were in Dubai, and you were not living the ideal lifestyle that you were living now, because now you are more conscious about whatever you're spending, whatever you're buying, whatever you think that your wants are. And I know Dubai's culture and Dubai's glamour. People fall for it. People fall for large house, big cars, and whatnot, and even expensive school for kids. Because I'm firm believer that if you are paying yourself for the kids' school, even then, if you're not paying for them, maybe your company is paying for that, still you should not go above and beyond. The reason is that once your kids go to a fancy school, they will find that kind of crowd within that school. And I've seen myself, my son who was going into a very expensive school at one time, they were going on a trip to Spain, and they were asking for some fee. I don't remember now, but I vividly remember that whatever they were asking for one kid, we had a trip with a family of 5 to the UK and back for 2 weeks, and they were asking almost the same amount for one kid going to Spain for a week. So this is the problem. I mean, I could have afforded that school, or even let's say my company could have afforded that school. But then these kind of expenses come, and then you have to worry about, let's say, your kids will not be happy if they won't go to such kind of trips. So you have to take you have to make choices in that regard. So I would like to know what kind of mistakes you think that you made while you were in Dubai, and you were not going to repeat them while you were in Canada or the US.
It's a great point, Wali, and I'll answer this question, but let me just build on the point you made with regards to kids. I think it's an important point. And I believe the podcast you had with Batul as well, she must have spoken about this piece.
That podcast was in Urdu language, but if anybody understands that, they should go and check that out. I'll put the link somewhere, and you'll put the link as well for that. But that is in Urdu language. But this one, I mean, I'm sure people would be knowing that kind of language, Hindi or Urdu. They should be watching that.
Cool. So talking about Dubai, so people do ask me when I moved to Canada, would you ever go back to Dubai? I was like, if I was single or if even married without kids, in a heartbeat, I would be back in Dubai and I would be your neighbor. But the challenge is kids. And this was one of the reasons we decided to move from Dubai to Canada. It wasn't just because of us getting a passport. That is an important part, which is kids having a passport in future and all. But in one way, once you are out of Pakistan, once you've established a life outside, you get yourself established as well, your kids are studying abroad as well, you've given them a life, and there is very less chance they'll ever go back. Now, they won't have a passport, there might be some struggle with the travel and all, but probably you can, plus minus, there are people who do have Pakistani passports or non-Western passports. And if they have good paying jobs, they have good education from good schools in US and all, they can still manage. For me, the more important part was kids growing up in Dubai in this kind of luxury. The example you gave about your son going to Spain and the cost, I remember reading in the newspaper that there was once a teacher, you know how every year parents give a gift to a teacher. Like you give here, it's the routine is you give a $25 Amazon gift card. By the way, that's even a lot. In Dubai, I read a news that one of the teachers from the school got a Range Rover from one of the parents. Yeah. So and the piece was, she was asked to give it back by the school. So they said either you resign or give the car back. So she resigned. Of course, if I was her as well, I would resign as well, because I'm sure she can find a better job. But the point is, imagine the amount of money your kids would be seeing going around. So my daughter would come back and say, okay, that parent gave a Range Rover and you are giving me a $50 Amazon card. Have you lost your mind? Because this will be embarrassing for me when I go there. And I understand it. Like, no matter how much education you give to your kids, I would feel the same pressure if I was a kid as well. If everyone is enjoying a good phone and I have a very cheap phone or I don't have a phone, I would be very depressed as a child. Now, when you grow up, you can create that muscle. You can create that muscle where you go like, I don't care, I'll drive a beaten car. I don't care if everyone has a better car. By the way, I struggle with that even today. But for a kid, it is very painful for you to put your kid in that situation. So that was one of the reasons I was like, we need to go in a place where we can raise our kids the kind of the similar way we were raised, but in more security and in more safety. And hence the reason was to move to Canada. Now, talking about the question you asked, which was mistakes, there were numerous mistakes. Starting with one, kids' education. So I would just see, okay, in my circle, where are people sending their kids? And if they're sending their kids to a school which is rated, let's say, in the top 3, then I would send them in a school which has to be rated top 2. because I have to do one step better. And it doesn't matter. For schooling, it doesn't matter. But I just went, so the school fees that I was paying was around 8 to 10,000 dirhams per month. I don't know, probably it's gone even because of inflation. They've increased it, I'm sure now. The house we got, Wali, believe me, the house we got, we were a family of two, me and my wife. Our kids were little, like my daughter could walk. My son was born in 2015. So he wasn't born even when we were living in that house. It was in Green Community Motor City. And the rent for the house was 250,000 dirhams per year.
What year was that? 2015?
2017. So we got the house in 2015, but 2015, 2016, 17 for 3 years. We started in 2014, and for 3 years we kept the house. And the house had like 5 rooms. We hardly used 2 or 3 rooms. The rest of the house was kind of all empty because we didn't have a big enough family to even fill up the house. And it's just because I just got crazy. I got bananas coming to Dubai. I was like, this is so flashy, this is so fun. Let's just cocaine and champagne. Let's just burn the money. And really? that was the kind of attitude we had.
So how many bedrooms you were telling me that the house had?
I think it had 5 rooms. Probably
even
4
the
bedrooms and 1.
Yeah, even if some guests are coming, you hardly need one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was more than I could ever imagine to have afforded, and it's just because my salary went to a level where I was like, okay, I can buy all this. The other piece, Wali, is social pressure. So I am a kind of person, and even if I take a step back, I think success financially, career-wise, whatever it is in life, it is very important for you to know who you are. And it took me a while to know who I am. I was always following someone else. So for instance, if Wali has gotten a better car, I would go like, if Wali has gotten a better car, I think this is the right thing to do. I'll buy a better car as well. Wali's living in a better house, bigger house than me. I want a bigger house as well. And it's not just because I am competing with you. It's just because I feel that pressure that if I have to be in your social circle, in a certain social circle, I need to maintain some strata around me and some kind of environment around me, and that costs a lot. And the kind of friends I had, which is kind of the case in Dubai, when you are in Dubai, you kind of the social circle you have, were people who were always going like, next is I'm going to Jumeirah Islands, or I'm going to this island and that island and getting a house there. And I was like, okay, we need to move up and up and up and up, just because I need to maintain my life standard with them. There are people who say, oh, but you're an elder, right? You understand, you're young enough or old enough to understand that you don't have to follow what Wali is doing. And that's where I go like, I say I can do this, but how do I convince my kids? So people would call my daughter to a birthday party, and they would spend 5,000 dirhams on that birthday party. Now I have to call her friends to her birthday party as well, right? Because she would expect that if she was going to other people's birthday parties, she gets to invite the kids as well. If I invite them and I only spend 1,000 dirhams, it is embarrassing for her, because she would go like, when I went there, they gave me a good giveaway, a gift, and this and that, and it was fancy. And now when I call them, we are all poor. So, and that's why, Wali, I think I spoke about this in one of your podcasts as well, other podcasts that we did, which is, would you rather be better off if you're earning $500,000, but everyone else around you is earning $1 million? Or would you rather be happy if you're earning, let's say, $150,000 and everyone else is around you earning $100,000? While I know I would want to earn $500,000, but I would not be happy. So yeah, those are kind of the things. Now, one more mistake I want to call out. Sorry, you can.
Before that, just to let people know that we have done, I think now half a dozen podcasts together, maybe in Urdu and English both. And I would definitely put all the podcasts in the description of this video, so that if somebody wants it to have a look, they can go either in English or in Urdu. I think we have done 1 or 2 in English, and the remaining are on Urdu. So you guys also can put the link to those podcasts. Yes. So what you were saying about the mistake.
So another mistake was, one of my colleagues bought an expensive car for themselves. And when I met them at the office parking, I was like, oh, you changed your car, you upgraded your car. He was like, yeah, it was my birthday yesterday, and I thought I'll gift myself. I was like, this is luxury. So my birthday was coming in 2 months. I went and I bought a Nissan Patrol for around 300,000 dirhams.
1,000 dirhams, yes.
And it was like top of the line, SC, whatever it is.
Nismo, I believe.
Exactly. So it was
Nismo,
like,
yeah.
and I think it was even a brand new car that I got from, so it was just out of the showroom. Of course, I couldn't afford it because I didn't have that much money, but I was just paying, I financed the car. And the financing was expensive as
well.
Okay,
interestingly, you said that you cannot afford it, although you could have just financed it and you can be paying monthly installment. It's very easy, but you were saying that you cannot afford it by the definition of affording something which is luxury, right?
Exactly. So I didn't have that much cash in my bank, right? So I didn't have that much cash to pay for the car, and hence I just went and financed it, not realizing if I don't have cash means I can't afford it. I should not be buying it. Another issue, Wali, is when I bought the car, I realized in 6 months that I don't like cars. Like, I don't fancy cars. I like cars, but it's not something which I fancy. Like, there are people who like photography. They will have the best of the cameras. There are people, I like road biking. So I bike on the road, cycling. And I have a very fancy, nice bike. But I use it almost every day in the summers. It's good for my health. It's good for my mental health. I go on bike rides for 1 to 2 hours almost every other day. It's something which I enjoy. Every time I'm on that bike, I enjoy it. This car, every time I was sitting in the car, it didn't feel much different for me. For me, it just was extra buttons in the car, which I felt fancy.
Hardly used.
But that's it. And I was like, I'm paying so much money for this car, which I don't even enjoy or is not bringing joy to me. What's the point? So I started to realize that I was just throwing money onto stuff just because someone else was doing. And they said they were happy about it because it was my birthday. I gifted myself. So I was like, okay, it will make me happy as well. Not realizing or not even asking the question as to what is that will make me happy. And I was just throwing money here and there. And by the way, since then, my income is far lower than what I used to make in Dubai after tax basis. However, my quality of life has not changed at all. So it's not like I was living a very high quality of life, living in a bigger house. And yeah, I was living in a bigger house, but I was not using the house. I had a better car, but I was not enjoying the car. Now, every dollar that I spend, every cent that I spend goes towards something that I really enjoy. So the quality of that dollar spent is far more now versus that it was in Dubai.
Right. Interesting. Because, and by the way, when did you realize that after buying the car that you have made a mistake? Like, was it instant or was it like over the period of time?
So it took me 6 months, but I think one of the reasons was I started to plan my move to Canada. And because I started to plan my move to Canada, I started to do the math, right? And I was like, okay, I have assets. I thought it's an asset, but it's actually a liability. And when I went to sell it, it sold for a very bad price. I had to pay something extra from the pocket to get rid of the car because I was like, instead of paying everything monthly, I just rather get rid of it. So yeah, I started to plan my exit from Dubai, and that's when I realized I'm so deep stuck with all the terms that I have, all the liabilities that I've purchased, that it's very difficult. So I started to get rid of them slowly and steadily, and it took me a year to be in a place where I said, okay, now I'm in a position where I can move to Canada.
So I see people in Dubai spending a lot on cars, on phones, and if they have a higher income bracket, then they will be spending on their houses as well. But mostly I've seen people spending on iPhones every second year or even every year. And similarly on cars every 2-3 years. They feel that the car is old after 3 years. I don't know. I mean, I've got a 9 years old car. This is an interesting story that I'm going to tell you about my car, because I have came to Dubai in 2009. I purchased a new car on cash, even in 2009. And then when I left Dubai, it was in 2014 when I left for Qatar for 1 year only. And then I didn't feel bad because I already driven that car for 6 years. And then I came back in 2015. I purchased again a new car because I knew this time it will be longer term. And then this car is not like a fancy car; it's just a regular 4x4. But the thing is, now it's a 9 years old car, and I drive that I do my videos on that as well. I show that car in my videos. I do some real estate videos as well. And interestingly, the agents, because I make videos around personal finance. I make videos around real estate of Dubai as well. I do some reviews of projects in Dubai off plan and the present ready properties projects as well. And everybody knows that what car I'm driving, and I know what cars the regular brokers are driving as well. They drive kind of Mercedes and Range Rovers and whatnot. So, and I drive a very humble kind of Mitsubishi. So, but at the same time, I got those leads which normally those people with Range Rovers and let's say whatnot, they are getting. So I'm getting much better leads from my own while driving a normal car, while they're not getting those kind of leads. So that makes me think that it's not only about the car that you drive, because they say it in Hindi or Urdu that jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. So that kind of feeling that whatever you find, it will be selling that stuff. So I tell this to the brokers as well, that you guys think it's only in your mind, because once you were here, you were driving a very normal car, very regular car. But then as you get your first check, and I was talking to one of the real estate agent here in Dubai, and I was talking to him about this emergency fund, because I was always wondering what kind of emergency fund these agents are keeping, because these agents sometimes they get a jackpot and they get, let's say, 100,000 dirhams, 200,000 dirhams in a month, or even sometimes 500,000 dirhams. I've seen people getting 1 million dirhams a month, but on the other month, on a down one, they might get only, let's say, 10,000 dirhams to 20,000 dirhams, or whatever the case is. So I was always thinking, how are they going to formulate their lives around this kind of this kind of variability. So he told me that as an agent, and he's a wise man, so he told me, as an agent, I'm keeping 3 years of emergency fund. And if you're keeping 3 years of emergency fund with you, then whatever car you're driving, it's none of my business actually. Maybe you can drive, you will be, and he was driving a very nice car, but then he's also having 3 years of emergency fund. If that is the case, then I'm nobody. Actually, I'm nobody anyways. But I'm nobody to ask him why is specific your why is this car so expensive? But as he's having so much of emergency fund, so much of wealth already accumulated, the person can do anything, because once you reach a certain point, it is very normal to have this kind of expense. I mean, people still, I know, I mean, we follow many people like in the US who are making content around personal finance, and they still live miserly. But for us, we can spend money. The wants are there, but it has to be rational. There has to be a rational behind it. So it's about your company you are keeping, and slowly and gradually, I'm feeling that through the content that we are creating, people are watching that. And now the thing is, I'm seeing people who questioned before that why are you driving this kind of car. Now they don't talk to me about this at all. They talk to me on different topics, but not topics like why are you using old phone, or why are you using these kind of cars. So it depends on your persona as well, how you try to mold the surroundings according to what your beliefs are. But it takes time.
So, Wali, a question to you. When did you have this realization? As I talked, when I turned 33, moved to Canada, and that's when I realized never again. I want to educate myself about personal finance, want to master money, and not be in this situation again, and try to reach financial freedom as soon as possible. What was your turning point? If you had a turning point, if not, would love to know. How did you manage that mindset?
Yeah, so I've always been in a scarcity mindset. Always, like I'm thinking always. When I moved to Dubai as well, I thought that this job will be only for a month, 2 months, at max 6 months. This is always in my mind. I don't know why I was programmed like that. That I don't want to plan for a longer term. It helped me as well, but it also stopped me from finding new avenues, because like all the people coming from South Asia, they had this as a mindset that we need to have our own house, and this was a mindset that is good as well, and that is of course detrimental as well. But for me, it proved to be, I would say, good, because then when I came in 2009 and until 2013, I was able to buy my own house back home in Pakistan, and then after that, it liberated me. Then I thought that, okay, this is it, and then I can do anything, because now I don't have that kind of pressure on me to have this kind of property back home. Although I was still in loan, but in 2014, I think I was, or maybe 2015, I was like I was debt free. But after that, the mistakes were happening. Like I was, although in a scarcity mindset, I was not like spending much. I was not spending on wants, like here and there, okay, but not much. But still, I was not investing in proper way. I was investing in properties back home. That too in a country which is prone to have inflation, prone to have rupee depreciation, and dollar impact would be very severe. Until 2018, I was just spending and investing on my properties back home, which was insane. Now I look back and think there might be one or two properties that I've invested were having maybe, although they've appreciated, but maybe they're just giving me same kind of dollar return that I invested in. But in majority of the properties, I'm negative right now. But if I knew about investing back in 2009 when I started, especially about stocks, I would have not made the mistake, or maybe I would have just invested in one single home, which I call it as a home, which is just collecting dust right now. But I would have just invested that and then moved on and didn't spend any other amount in properties, or let's say such kind of investments. So that was like 2018 was, although I never spend on luxuries, but at the same time I was not wise with my investments as well. So my point, when I started talking about, I mean, when I during the COVID, I was watching a lot of videos, and then before that as well, I started thinking to move away from investments in the properties. And then I found out there are ways that you can do multiple investments without going into properties, without looking into real estate, especially in the countries which are prone to have this dollar issues. So that was my realization, and then after that there was no looking back. I didn't liquidate my properties back home, but I was just trying to build up, and it was a nice time when I started, because then COVID hit, and after that I was still doing dollar cost averaging till this date, and that made me think about this YouTube channel as well, which we are talking about.
So Wali, what if I say, or someone says to you, you're not enjoying life, you're just being a miser, you're saving every dollar, being not having an abundance mindset, and so this is one. And second is, you are in a pattern now where you are careful with money, saving and all. When do you start spending money on yourself? So are you even enjoying money? Are you just killing yourself? Any thoughts on that?
So until 2018, as I said before, I was not spending on any of my wants at that time. Although we were traveling, by the way, I didn't compromise on traveling at all, even during this whole time. That was the only thing that I was actually spending my money on. If I say that that was luxurious, but I won't say this now as luxury, because those were the times that I spent with my family in multiple countries. So I won't say that I was having a miser mindset. I was spending where I was thinking that the value was. But after, like, when I started this YouTube channel, and then when I thought about financial independence, so I don't think so it's miser at all. I'm investing on myself, and I'm investing for my family to be free all the time, that I don't have to rely on one single job. Because in Dubai it's very difficult to think about being laid off and then to stay here and then find out another job. It's a very painful process. But now, because of all the savings that I've done, and all the investments that I've done, and all the side hustles that I'm creating now, I am actually I have liberated myself from that kind of shackle that always was with me.
This is so well said, Wali, and thank you for saying that. Let me say what I was saying before as well. I find myself living much of a luxury life now than I was living when I was making more money. is because now I am careful with regards to spending money only on things that I enjoy versus random crap. So this is one. And for instance, you talked about travel. Travel is luxury, but it's something that you enjoy versus a car. As I said, maybe you buying a Ferrari, you may enjoy it for first 6 months and that's it. But the travel that you do because you like it, you're that person, you enjoyed it, and then you look at those pictures, they pay you dividend, and you continue to live those memories. Second point that I want to make is people think that buying things will make them happy. This is how humans are. We generally think that if I buy this, I buy that, even including travel, let's say, will make me happy. What will really make you happy, in reality, what makes human being happy is optionality. Having an option of saying, today I'll wake up and go to work, today I won't go to work. Today I will play with my child, today I will just read a book, and today I will write something. Having that optionality gives you far more happiness than driving a Ferrari. So, and it took me a while to realize, because what has happened is I learned from mistakes. I had the best car, I had the best house, I had the best travel and everything, and it wasn't bringing me happiness. Till now, I'm moving to a point where I say, okay, I have my YouTube channel, I have some side income, I have good investment, everything is paying me money. Maybe another 4 or 5 years I have to work, and after that, I'm liberated. As you said, like I don't have to, and even now it's just because I have some shackles with me in terms of, especially we can talk it on a different day, especially if you're a desi, you have to live in a certain town, you live in a certain setup, and usually where desis are living together, the town is expensive and all, so you have to pay some premium of how you want to live. But if I take out that premium completely, I can just retire tomorrow because of what I've built for myself in past 7 years. And maybe with that, we can move into me moving to Canada and how I was able to really drive my income up.
By the way, interesting point you've just mentioned, that if you downgrade, you might be able to survive without the job as well. And this is what my point, and this is the realization I just had, because at that time in 2015 when I purchased my, let's say 2013 when I purchased my home, then I was thinking, okay, after 2 years I will be debt free. I can go back Pakistan, I have a home, I can do anything of whatever I want. In 2015, when this goal was achieved, I had a different mindset. And now, if I think back again, I can easily retire back home in Pakistan. I can do all what I want based in Pakistan. But now my goals are elevated. But like, you can always change your goals, but they have to be tangible, because if your goals are just like buying a new car, it can be anyone's goal, and it can be achieved very easily, because in Dubai, credit is very easy. You don't have to worry about, people will come to you and get the signatures for your new car, or let's say the credit card will come to you by itself, which is a detrimental thing, because if that is happening, and if you are having that kind of cocaine, then you will not be, like, it will be a dreadful story.
True. Okay, Wali, how about we moving to Canada then?
Yes.
Okay, so remember how I said the 73,000 dirham income, which if I convert in dollars is around $240,000 annual without any tax. And I will share with you my income in Canada in 2020. I don't want to share the recent income that I have, but I'll share with you the household income I was making in Canada in 2020. And I can also share with you a screenshot of my tax return without sharing any of the confidential tax numbers and all, but just for you to, if you want to put this up here as well. In Canada in 2020, we were making $250,000 Canadian. Now this is gross income. And after tax income was that our take home income was around $190,000. So not very far from $240,000 of Dubai. And this kind of puzzles people for two reasons. One, they go like, how were you able to match your your gross income in Canada to your gross or net income in Dubai? The reason is, in Dubai, my wife was not working. And that's another luxury we had, which is it's okay for my wife to not work because I'm making a lot of money. But here's the risk. And this is something I say to every individual, every friend that I have whose wife is not working or not making an income. It could be a side income, it could be sitting at home and making an income. This is your insurance policy. When I was in Dubai, and if I would have died, something would have happened to me, it would be very difficult for my wife to sustain a life. Now you can argue, buy an insurance. Yes, I can buy an insurance for a year, 2 years, 3 years. But I'm young, my wife is young, my kids are young, they have to go to college, university. It is important that your spouse is in a situation where they can sustain the family, the house, by virtue of you not being there. And I never thought about this, and I only thought about this when I moved to Canada, as I told you, that when I was sleepless, I was like, okay, these 3 people, like 2 of my kids and my wife, they're relying on me. And I don't have a job. And if tomorrow I don't even wake up, it would be such detrimental for them, because I'm the only person who has experience to make that kind of money, because I never allowed my wife, not allowed, but I never encouraged my wife to work, because she never chose as well. We were in a circle where all the wives were not working. So you're like, okay, this is the stuff. We made sure that when we moved to Canada, that Batul, my wife, she picks a job, she picks up an income as well. And not just because we want to have a good life, but more so if tomorrow something happens to me, this is an insurance that she can sustain the kids. And that is why we were able to kind of match the same net income, the same gross income that we were making in Dubai, because both me and my wife started to work. So this is one. The second piece is, when people typically ask in Canada, oh, the tax is very high. And if you ask people what, they'll say, half of your salary is gone. I was only paying 25% tax on my income. And I figured this out in the first year when I moved. I was like, I need to understand, when I was trying to understand how to make money, how to grow money, there's a big element of how do you optimize your tax. And I read a lot of books on it, a lot of materials, and I teach as well now, which is how you can bring your tax down. So from around 45%, my marginal tax would be 45%. So every extra dollar that I earn, the tax would be 45% on it, or around 50%. But my average tax is around 25%, just because I was able to legally and in the proper way optimize my tax. There are different avenues which, if you know right, you put your money, your savings, your investment in that particular way, you can bring all your tax down. And this is me earning an income and having a job. If you don't have a job, if you have a business, you can even take it down below 10%. So this idea that, oh, Canada will kill you with tax, yes, but there are ways if you're smart enough with the money.
So this is very interesting. I would like you to expand on that further. Let's say if somebody is going, because this is very hot topic for someone who is going to Canada. And I know people, let's say if I talk about one of the guys who has gone to Canada with $130,000 of salary, and it's a single income household. What kind of tax benefit? First of all, let's say he's in Toronto. What kind of tax bracket he's going to be falling under? Let's say if he's having 2 kids, and then what are the possibilities for him as a let's say permanent job holder, who is not having any contract? What are the possibilities for him to save taxes legally?
Yeah, so $130,000, I would say somewhere around 45% tax, marginal tax. However, on average, it would be somewhere around, let's say, 40 or 38%. Now, how do you really bring it down from there is, for instance, one is there is this option called RRSP, where if you invest every dollar that you invest in the RRSP account, you don't pay any tax on that. So if you have $130,000, you can take out $20,000 from this $130,000, put it in that account. And if you put it in that account, actually you will be paying tax on not $130,000, you will be paying tax on $110,000. Those $20,000 just go tax free completely. And you can use that investment account to invest in stocks and invest in crypto, whatever kind of investment that you want to do. And you can compound that money.
What kind of time frame that we are talking about to invest in that? Like, do we have to tie the amount for a longer period of time in that RSRP?
No. So the only challenge is whenever you take money out from RSP, you have to pay tax on it. So here's the idea. When I'm 30, I invest my money in RRSP. Let's say I invest $20,000 every year. Every year I invest $20,000. I don't pay any tax on it. Mm-hmm. And my tax rate is very high because the government knows my income is high. So let's say my tax rate is 40%. Come age 50, I want to retire at age 50. At age 50, my income is 0 because I'm not earning anything else. anymore. I'm retired. Now I can take out that money. When I take out that money, I don't pay tax, 40% tax on it. I only pay tax on it based on my rate basis that income. Now my needs are less as well. My house is paid, my car is paid, my kids are gone. So I don't need a lot of money coming out of that account. So I don't need 130,000 coming out of that account. I only need 40,000 coming out of that account. So I pay tax only on 40,000. Now, another trick is you don't need to take out 40,000 from that account altogether. You must also be having some other savings on the side. So you use 20,000 from there, you take out 20,000 from here, and eventually your tax bracket is very small. So instead of paying 40%, so you save 40% tax on that money, and you will end up paying, let's say, 10% tax on that money eventually when you take it out at age of 50.
Because because your income is in the lower bracket now.
Exactly. So it's called tax deferred, and people don't get this point, which is tax deferred. Okay, tax deferred means if I don't pay tax today, eventually I'll have to pay tax. I say, yeah, you have to pay tax, but you have to pay lower tax because you take that money out only when your income is low.
But what if, let's say, if I keep on making money from any of my sources, not necessarily job, but maybe from any other business or investments, what will happen in that case? I would not be, probably then I will not be taking out the money that is in the account, because I don't need that.
Say that differently.
So let's say if I at the age of 50, I'm still working and I don't want to retire. In terms of my, I want to retire in my capacity as a 9-to-5 job, but I still have some side hustles, or let's say I'm having some kind of business which is giving me good money, and I don't want to forego that. But at the same time, if I would be repatriating or recovering the amount from my investments account, would that attract the same kind of tax now, or do I have some other ways to reduce it?
Yeah, so good point. So let's say you have a business income. How about you can choose to say at age 50, you will not get money from your business income. So you invest everything back in your business. You don't take anything out. You only take out money from RSP because you want to ensure your tax rate is low. Because if you combine the two together, then eventually you'll have to pay higher tax. If the two together become $130,000 again, then you end up paying 40% tax. So you don't want that. So in year 1, you only take out money from RSP. Maybe in year 2, you take out you use business money. In year 3, you take out money from RSP.
Right.
So this is one which is, you have to ensure that at any given point in time, you don't take out big chunk of money, so your tax rate remains less. Second point, you and I know what is the 8th wonder of the world. That's a question to you, Wali.
Compounding, of course.
Compounding. So when I put money in that account, I don't pay tax on it. Okay, now this money grows with compounding.
Yes.
So this money is growing with compounding, which is all tax free. So I'm also benefiting from compounding on the money which I didn't pay tax on. And at the end of the day, in the long run, you and I both know that if I stop contributing to that account as well, there come a time when what I've contributed will be smaller than the amount of money which is generated through compounding only. Yes. So that's another element which is you benefit. Of course, you'll have to pay tax on that compounded money as well, but you've allowed tax savings today to grow that money. So it's like me getting a loan from you, 40% loan from you on $20,000 that I've invested to let it grow and earn money. So I kind of take a loan from the government and then let that money grow, and eventually I'll pay them tax. But I kind of benefited from compounding that money which I saved.
Yeah, actually, this thing, along with there are some other important tips as well, because I was delivering a lecture here in a university in Dubai, and there were young students who were about to pass out, and I was telling them about tax optimization and also something called as company contribution towards your pension. Both of these things are alien concept here in the GCC, because we don't talk about taxes at all on personal level. Now there are corporate taxes, but we don't talk about the taxes on the personal income. And also we don't talk about contribution towards the pension schemes of the companies. Now there are some pension funds coming up, but still this is a very nascent kind of idea in this region. But as you go to Western countries, this tax optimization and also contribution towards your pension, these become really compounder, because they were actually fascinated when I told them that company will contribute the same amount that you are contributing towards your pension. So probably one of the aspect is that as well. While you are moving to Canada, that you should be talking about, you should talk to me about this tax optimization. Okay, I understand that. Anybody who's going to Canada or the US or any Western country, they should understand how taxes work, because then you will be able to save more or invest more as well because of the tax saving. But what about this company contribution? Have you thought about it, and did you know once you were going to Canada?
Yeah, so in Dubai, I didn't have that option, and you're right. I don't know. It doesn't exist in Dubai at all. This concept?
No, but now,
Strangely so.
yeah, pension contributions are coming up, because you know this term gratuity. This
Yes.
is ever since there, but now they have this the setup that they're creating funds where you are going to be investing your gratuity in, and that will be kind of your pension. But again, it is again a very new concept here. People will not understand, because in pension funds, if the market goes down, your pot will go down as well, which will be hard to understand for many people to which are here. But at least it will be better if at least they invest in some kind of money market fund, because right now whatever gratuity it's accumulating, let's say if you're here for 20 years, whatever gratuity have been accumulated, there is no interest on that can be paid to you, because it's just a formula. It's just a formula based on your current income, not whatever you have accumulated. So there are products that are coming up now which allows you to at least invest in money market fund, so at least you can get 3% to 4%, whatever the returns are prevailing as of now, they will get it. But as of now, there is nothing.
So I didn't know about this, but when I joined my first company, as I said, the first 3 months in Canada, all the books I read were on personal finance. Everything like tax, personal finance, income. I do my taxations myself. I never, only for the first year, I hired a tax agent or tax lawyer to file my tax. And after that, I was like, I need to understand it, every dollar that I put in myself, so I exactly know what I do with it. So for the first 3 months, that's what I did. I educated myself, and I realized this company money is free money. I put in 3% or I put in 6%, and company gives me 6% for free. You know, I had a friend in my company, and he was like, I don't invest in the company contribution. It's called DCPP in Canada. I don't invest in DCPP. And I was like, why? He's like, because I'm paying off my mortgage. My mortgage is, it was a higher rate for him. I don't know why he had gotten a higher rate, and his rate was somewhere around, let's say, 4% back then. And he's like, because my rate is high, I want to pay off my house first. I'm like, do you realize this is 100% return on your money? When you contribute 6%, the company gives you 6% on top. This is 100% return. You will never ever, you will be hard pressed to find 100% return anywhere else. So I kind of converted him, and eventually he started investing in it as well. I was like, it's good to pay off your home. It's wise, but not at a cost of not contributing with the company.
Yeah, even if that is the case, let's say if hypothetically speaking, if his house doubles in the value in next 10 years, even then he's not doing good to himself by not contributing towards company retirement. I mean company contribution. Even if his house doubles, yes.
Exactly. Now, so I talked about RRSP. There is another thing which is called FHSA. It's an account which recently started, where the government allows you to invest in an account, again tax free. You get the tax money back to save for house. So you can use that money against buying your first house, which is getting expensive in Canada day by day. But again, you get this opportunity to say, okay, I save 20% or 40%, if the tax rate is 40%, on that money that you're investing, and then you can use that money towards the house. Another piece is, it's called RESP. It's a fund which is for the kids. So I invest $500 in it not 500, it's around $2,500. So every year I invest $2,500 in that account, and the government pays me $500, which is a good 20% return. 20% return.
This is in the US or Canada?
Canada. This is Canada. So
okay.
All this that I'm talking about is Canada, because I moved to US a year and a half back. but this is all Canada. So I invest $2,500, and I can invest that money, by the way, to your question which you were asking. I can invest my money that I'm contributing with the company. So both the 6% that I've contributed and the 6% that the company gave me, I can invest both of them, even if I want to invest in crypto, like as crazy, as high risk as crypto. I don't recommend investing anything in crypto, but I'm just saying that you have the flexibility to invest anywhere. All the money that you have in your RRSP, which is tax deferred, you can invest anywhere. All the money in your FHSA, which is for the first house buying, you can invest anywhere. And then there is another account which is called TFSA, which is also another beautiful account. Here, when you invest money, you have to pay tax on it. So you pay tax on the money, then what you save, you invest in it, and then that money grows. All the compounding that happens on that money, you don't pay any tax on it. So all the income that is generated on that money, capital gains, everything, zero tax on it. So you can invest. Now, all these accounts have certain limits as well. It's not like you can invest in your entire wealth into these accounts.
Yes. But Bahroz, did you think about making a video around, let's say, this hypothetical case of 130,000 earning of a person, and then he's contributing to each of these accounts at max, whatever he can do, and then what are the tax savings eventually? Did you try making such kind of video, or have you made such calculations?
So, Wali, I have made calculations for myself. I've also made a couple of videos on it, but not exactly in giving an example. Probably I'll make a video after your Q, which is sharing an example as to if you earn this, how much you can make. But I've made video where I explain what these accounts are, which account is better. So every time you have an extra dollar, which account you should invest in. As I said, Wali, on one of our chats as well, in North America, 80% of personal finance is around taxation. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe at least more than 50% is around taxation. If you understand taxation, that's where you can make that's why Trump came in and saying he didn't pay any taxes, right? He's I didn't cheat anything. This is how the system works. I know the system, so I play the system. So if you know the system, if you understand the system. Now, there is another thing. There are people who go for full-time jobs, right? Everyone wants a full-time job. I want a full-time job. But if you go as a contractor, as against full-time. So let's say if today I become a contractor for my company, where I'm on a contract with my company, let's say a year or 2 year contract. Now, of course, I understand that the contract means that the contract can be cancelled any day. But so they can fire me any day as well. It's not like if I'm a full-time employee, they'll keep me forever.
Of course.
When you are a contractor, your income is not reported as a taxable income. You get your full income. It's like a business income. So you get your full income, and then you can put your expenses on top of it. So you can charge your car, you can charge your meals that you go. So you can reduce that income and not have to pay the kind of tax I pay, because I'm a full-time employee. Let's say my tax bracket is 45%. If I was a contractual employee, I can bring my tax bracket down to 10%, not even 25. So today I'm doing 25 after doing all the magic with RRSPs and TFSs and all, and RESPs. And if you are a contractor, you can even bring it down to 10% or even lower, because you'll start putting in expenses, which will bring your taxable income down. So that's another thing which I didn't realize, because I saw someone and he's like, they were giving me a full-time contract option to become a full-time employee. And I said, no, I'm making more money being on a contract than if I become a full-time employee. So
Bahroz, I would give you an idea, make a video around this. And what we'll do, we'll have a podcast again on my Urdu channel or English channel, I don't know, but this is a very interesting topic for me. Let's say if somebody as an immigrant goes to Canada and is getting somehow after 6 months or 7 months or even immediately, if he's getting 100,000, 20,000, 120,000, let's say, as a single household, how much money, first of all, if he's doing nothing and getting the amount back himself and taxed by the government and going directly to the government, he's going to pay. And then what if one by one, if we are going to allow him to invest in specific investments, what are the breakdowns? I mean, this will be an interesting figure. I'm sure it will be an interesting figure.
Yeah, let's do that. This would be good help as well, because I know, given the channel that I have with Batul on moving to Canada, there are certain questions which come. And the questions are even like, should I move my money in dollars or Canadian dollars, and how do I transfer money? And also, people are really interested, especially who want to move there, into knowing all this. And again, this is just magic. Once you know this, you will start saving and making so much money. As I said, and I'll say it again, when I was moving to Canada, it's not like I didn't have any money. The only reason I was able to have some money was because I was leaving Procter & Gamble. I had a 10-year service with Procter & Gamble, so they gave me a big severance check. But apart from that, I didn't save anything much for myself. But I was able to increase my wealth by 4 times and become a millionaire. And even above a million, I'm significantly being above $1 million in wealth. So, and that was only because I was able to understand this taxation piece.
Nice, very nice. This is actually an interesting piece for me as well. I mean, once I understand this whole scenario, I can make multiple content pieces around it, even my university talks, because a lot of students that I talk to, they might be going to Canada, and this is a gold mine for them, for whoever is going to Canada, or even as an immigrant. This is a gold mine information for them, because most of the people I know, they rant about taxes in Canada, but nobody talks about how to save legally or how to invest, because I think investment mindset is always missing, because first of all, people are not investing in the stocks. This is the first thing. They always think about the property or the real estate. That is the one thing that they go for.
Now, I'll come to the investment part as well, because rightly so, I did not invest any money except for buying 2 properties in Bahroz town, Karachi, which is down half the value versus what I invested. Other than that, I didn't invest anything. I did have a property in Dubai, but I sold it exactly at the right time, which kind of helped me as well. But it wasn't because I was smart. Someone was buying property. I just bought a property as well. Just kept it for 2 years.
Same like somebody was buying a car. Someone was buying a car, and you
just following that. And then because I was leaving Canada in 2017, I just sold the property because I needed the cash. But that's it. Now, the other point that I wanted to make apart from investment is another way you can reduce your tax income is having your side business. So I started a online side business of selling yoga accessories. And what I did was, the idea is you have to have some side income. Once you have some side income, you can put a lot of expenses against it. So I would put part of my mobile bill against it. I would put part of my meals cost, like if I go with my wife, and I would justify it was a business expense in terms of, you would talk something about business, I would put that in as an expense as well. And if there is any travel involved, anything which slightly I can justify that it has something to do with the business I have, I would put that expense in. And I started showing, at least for the first 3 years, I showed a loss on that business, which is very natural. For the first 3, 4, 5 years, you'll show a significant loss in your business because you're starting. So I would have a loss in my business, which made actually the government pay me tax back. So if I have let's say $5,000 loss, the government would pay me 40% of that $5,000 to me. So that's another piece, which is if you can build some side income on the side. So for instance, if you have a YouTube, buying a Mac. So in US, I bought a MacBook last year. I bought a camera last year, and I bought it in December because I realized by the time December was coming, I was like, my income is pretty high for me to put a lot of stuff in it, and I can bring it into a negative number. So I bought MacBook, I bought some cameras, stuff like that, in order to bring that cost down. But again, MacBook is something which is actually dedicated to my business, but there could be things which you can use for 2 things, like mobile bill, internet bill, house rental. You can charge part of your house rental for that YouTube business. Now, it doesn't mean that if I don't have the YouTube business, I'll let go of that house, or I won't pay that my owner that rental. I pay my rental, let's say I pay $2,000, let's say, to my owner. I'll still pay that $2,000. But now I have a business, I have a room which is dedicated to YouTube, so I charge 10% of that $2,000 into my expense, and I bring my taxable income down. So that's another way of doing it.
Right. Actually, there are a couple of YouTubers I know. They brag about their G wagons in US, and people always say smart people always comment under their videos that you're not buying these cars just to have your own car. You're talking about these cars. You're buying these cars just to waive off your taxes or reduce your tax liabilities. So it's all about. I mean, you're bragging as well. This is making your brand equity, and also you're saving taxes at the same time. So it's really about smart investing and smart tax optimization, which can bring wonders. So Bahroz, actually, I would definitely think about steps that one can take one by one and then see how the tax amount comes down. Really, it is really interesting.
Yeah, let's do some content on that. Now, talking about tax, so tax is one thing. The other piece I was able to understand I made money is compounding. It's only when I figured out compounding, I was like, I'm finance major. I was CFO. I had a CFO title, and I didn't know how powerful compounding is. So
actually, before you elaborate on that, I would like to ask you, and within that answer that you're giving right now, like I talk to a lot of people after this YouTube channel, and a lot of them are finance executives, let's say chartered accountants, MBA finances, and whatnot. And I find that their personal finance is very weak. I mean, they don't they do finances on the level of huge companies, but they are unable to understand what their own they're not able to put their own house in order. So what is like that? I mean, is it my own wrong perception, or I'm not being in proper people to have this judgment done, or is it like that?
So, Wally, I think there are two things. One is instant gratification, which is I want to go to the gym tomorrow, and in a week's time, I want to have 6 packs. And this is not how life works. Everything, you need to give everything time, and time of around 10 years. You have to keep a 10-year horizon for anything, whether it's your YouTube channel, whether it's your side income, side business, or investment. Irrespective whether you're a finance guy, you know everything about finance, human beings cannot fathom that they'll have to wait 10 years for the return to come. So that is one thing. The second piece is, no matter how smart you are, compounding is not intuitive. So let me ask you, what is 3 plus 3?
It is 6.
6 plus 3?
9.
9 plus 3?
12.
I can go on and you can keep giving me answers till
Yeah.
zilth.
Yeah.
What is 3 into 3?
9.
Now 9 into 3, that number into 27. 27 into 3 or doubling it, whatever. So when it becomes more a complex mathematics, exponential mathematics, it is difficult to do the math. You can do the math for to some extent, but then it's beyond you.
Yes,
I don't know if you know that example of the chessboard. So let me tell you the story. You know the story of how the chessboard was created? I don't know if it's a myth or not, but it's a story which was...
No.
Okay, so there was a king and a guy in that kingdom, he created the game chess with all the squares and all. So he brought it to the king, and the king was extremely happy. He was like, wow, this is one of the best games. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's so good. Tell me what reward you want.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was very smart. Someone who created chess is smart. So he said, what I want you to do is, I want you to put 1 grain of rice on 1 cube of the chessboard. On the next cube, I want you to double it. 2, then 4, then 8, and keep doubling it.
Yeah.
Sorry, 4 and 16, and so keep doubling the amount. 4, 8, and then 16. The king was like, this is easy. Like 1 grain would go to how long? Like it's just a chessboard, right? It's a few boxes.
Yes.
By the time the guards who were putting the rice on the board, they reached halfway, the guard came and he said, we've ran out of rice in our stores. I think by the time he reached 60% of the board, they said, we've ran out of rice in the entire kingdom, our kingdom. And by the time, which they couldn't reach, but there is not enough rice in the entire world to fill up the chessboard by doubling it each time. Do that someday when you have time. Do it on Excel. Keep doubling it to the point, and you'll realize there is not enough rice grains in the world to fill up that chessboard.
Yeah, I think I heard this story, but it's in a different context. But you telling me that this game of chess, when it was invented, this happened. Maybe it's a story, but it's a very nice story. I've heard about this in a different context. Yes.
Okay. So the king was like, he's a smart guy. He's the king, right? But even he couldn't get it. And even if it was you and me, we would be just sitting there and go like 1 and 2 and 4. Let's give him what he wants. Like silly guys, he gave me such a good game. I'm asking him to ask me anything, and he's asking for a few grains of rice. Let's just give him. So that is the piece which, even if you're the smartest guy, the finance guy or the king, you don't get it because these are exponential numbers. So it's hard to get, but I was able to eventually figure it out, and I started to invest in stock market. Again, stock market investment very wisely. You create a lot of content on that as well. I create a lot of content around that as well, and I let that money compound. We usually think that, in my opinion, where I grew up, it was all about invest in property. You invest in property, and that's how you get rich. People don't realize there is so much cost involved with property. You have to, especially here, you have to pay taxes irrespective whether you've rented the property or not. There are days when your property may not be rented, months or days. There are repair maintenance costs, especially houses here are of wood. So there is something or the other that you have to repair. Unlike, you have to repair house anyways, machinery or the appliances or anything. The cost is so much, the fee that you pay to the agent and all. If you start doing the math, houses usually, in my opinion, pay out if you hold them for 10, 15 years. You cannot just have a house investment for 2, 3, 4 years. It doesn't, for first 2, 3 years, it is a negative payout altogether. So I started to learn about stock market, started to invest in stock market, and that's where I compounded a lot of my money.
Right. No doubt about that, because I have been through this real estate, because as I said before, I invested in real estate looking nowhere, like left, right, and center. I was just investing in rental properties, and now, although they are giving me very good cash flow, because all of them are on cash with me, but like just one of the apartment, I was just running through the maths for that apartment, and I came to realize that almost 3 months worth of rent was going into either repair, either maintenance, or the building maintenance fees, or these things. So assuming that, okay, this is going to give me X amount of money every month, but not realizing that almost 3 months will be wasted in different kind of issues within the building, and that too, not talking about like if the tenant is doing some let's say bad things, or he's not paying on time, or whatever the case is, that is not taking into consideration that, because currently I'm only talking about repair, maintenance, and regular fee that the property is incurring. Yeah.
And the point is, Wali, because people argue that if you take a loan, then your returns are better because you've kind of leveraged. And my argument is, if you are talking about leverage, you should also do apples to apples math. You should also do leverage in investments as well. You can't just say I leverage one way, and then when you compare versus stocks, you only compare without leverage. And I'm not in favor of leverage to begin with. This is one. And second piece is, given what you said, in S&P 500 you can make around 10% return, historically speaking. Let's say if you invest in S&P 500, if the property is giving me 10% return, it's not worth it, because the amount of risk, the mental stress is a lot. So the property has to give me 15% return for me to say, I will invest in property over the 10% return, because the 10% return is less stressful as against the 50. Now there is stress to that as well, because market keeps going up and down, but assets for 10 years, then you don't have to stress about the volatility. But then the risk is high here, because the tenant can screw up the house and stuff like that. So people don't realize, they go like, okay, you get 10% here, I get 10% in my property. I go, no, you need to have 15% from your property to pay off for the stress that you're taking.
Because there is a difference between active income and passive income. Exactly. Because in the house case, it's mostly you are doing passive, but it's certain degree of passiveness, that activeness is also there. But for stocks, if you're doing just ETF investing, it's 100% passive. You don't have to worry about anything.
But by the way, Wali, I think that's another content as well, because people who come from Middle East and Pakistan and India, Bangladesh, all, when they come to Canada, they still have that mindset. I will buy a property and I will invest in a property. And in Dubai, it's still easy, because the owners have a lot of right. You can take out your tenant tomorrow.
Yes.
In Canada,
not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Maybe it takes 1 year at max. But you can. But you can very easily.
They can choose not to pay you for a year.
No. This is the point. I mean, they can. You can. Okay. So basically, if I have an apartment which is rented out, and for some reason I want to kick out the tenant, either because the rents have gone too high, and my rent here we call it as RERA index. If the RERA index is not up to the mark, and let's say if you think that the apartment can easily go for, let's say, 100,000 dirhams per year, but you are getting around, let's say, 70,000 right now, and at max you will be able to push the tenant to 80,000, and the RERA rental index is also talking about 85,000, but the market value, you know that it will be 100,000 dirhams. In that case, you will be only able to get, let's say, 85,000 at max. But if you want to evict that tenant, you have to give him a 1 year's notice period, and that during this notice period, of course, the tenant will be paying you the rent. It's not possible that he's not going to pay the rent. This is good thing, because in Canada, I know the tenant can run away with your rent. At least you have the security to get the rent. In case the tenant is not paying you the rent, maybe 3 months, 2 months at max, and the police will help you out in that. But in Canada, I know that it's a horror story.
My experience, Wali, so my experience, I gave a house to a lady. She had 2 kids. I met her just because I wanted to see her if she looked fine. And after 7th month, her check started to bounce.
Oh.
It bounced the first time. I called her. She said, I'll pay you later. And she did pay me after 10 days. Then the second one bounced. So there was a pattern which was picking up. And then I was like, okay, I need to come and visit the house. And she's like, I can't let you in to visit the house. I was like, I need to check the house, how it looks like. She's like, oh, I'm not there, I'm busy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. So I asked my agent to go and check the house. And he went and he showed me the pictures. The carpet had all dog poop. So she had a pet in the house and it destroyed all the carpet. And then one of her last checks, not just bounced, but it never came back. Like, she didn't even pay me back. And then I kind of begged her. I was like, tell me what you want from me. Just leave my house. Now, luckily, I just waived off the last month. Like I said, you don't have to pay the last month. You can just leave. And she decided to leave. But she could have chosen not to leave. And I asked a lawyer, and the lawyer told me it can take you a year or 2 years before you can take her out. And during that time, she won't pay me a dime. So I was like for 2 years I would be just paying the mortgage for a house for which no rental comes in. This is super stressful. So again, for North America specifically and Canada, if you're earning 10% from stock market, you should be earning 15% plus from rental income. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And people don't get it. People come here and still are in the same mindset of, I'll buy a house, I'll invest in the house, property. Yeah, property goes up here very fast. It has been going up. Property keeps, not recently it came down, but property has been working well for people who invested, but it's not as simple as just saying I buy a property, it will go up and I'll put it on rental income and all. It's more than that.
Yeah. You cannot get the positive cash flows. It is also prone to interest rates as well. Recently, a common friend of ours, Yasin, was making a video, and I made several videos on that Urdu channel on that particular topic, that his amortization went from, I think, 25 years to 60 years just because of the interest rate. So you never know what cycle you are stuck in. So that is also important. While stocks, of course, you can have flat market for, let's say, full decade as well. But then you have a long-term horizon. You will not be selling your home if the price goes down and you are having still some kind of cash flow out of it, or even negative cash flow out of it. But you will not be selling the house just because it has gone down in the value. But the stocks, the problem is people tend to divest from it because it's very easy. You can just go and with a click of a button, you can just sell the stocks.
So 2 things. One, it is easy, and second, it is very real time. You don't have your property being valued every second.
Yeah.
What is my value of the property today, tomorrow, and I don't know. But for stocks, you are valuing your investments every second. So that is kind of, if you stop seeing that, if you make it as a property thing as well, which is you don't know the value of the property. Like, you have an idea, someone in your neighborhood sold the property for this amount, but that's a range which can be off by a good 10%. But in stocks, you are not off by 10%. You exactly know what is your value or worth on that particular day.
Yeah, that is the reason I tell everybody that you need to make systems around your investment. So let's say if I don't invest in Bitcoin at all, but let's say if you are a Bitcoin geek and you want to see Bitcoin go up and you believe in Bitcoin, then even if it's going to $10,000, $16,000, $25,000, $70,000, $100,000, you will be investing all the way. It's not that, okay, if it's $70,000, you are going to invest in it now because you think now it will go to $100,000. So if you don't have that system around Bitcoin even, then you will lose big time, because then you will just ride on the wave and try to time the market. Either it's Bitcoin, either it's property, either it's stock. So Behrouz, thanks a lot. अच्छा कोई और बात तो नहीं रही है? ये इसको wrap up करें.
नहीं लाइफस्टाइल पे बात कर सकता था, बट वी कैन जस्ट रैप इट अप.
आई थिंक मतलब बहुत लंबी खिंच गई हमसे, मतलब मैं सोच नहीं रहा था कि इतनी लंबी जाएगी, लेकिन बात से बात
मुझे पहले आधे घंटे, पहले 20 मिनट में मुझे लगा कि ये छोटी है, क्योंकि वो 20 मिनट में वो दुबई रैप अप हो गया था, तो मुझे लगा ये छोटी होगी. और बट सेकंड हाफ वाज गुड. आई डोंट नो हाउ वेल इट विल गो, बट
इसको पैकेज करना पड़ेगा, इस पे बात करते हैं, पहले उसको रैप अप करते हैं जरा.
ठीक है.
Okay, Behrouz, it was nice talking to you about these topics, and I really had some insightful thoughts with me now to make content around Canadian immigration, because this topic on my Urdu channel especially, it goes very well, and we will collaborate soon, especially about this tax thing, and I'm sure you are going to make some videos around that. But I think I'm gonna make some kind of hypothetical scenario which I know for people who already went to Canada and they are complaining big time about taxes, and I'm 100% sure they're not invested anywhere, because just a while back my friend, a friend of mine whom I know very well, he was he is in Canada for last 4 years, and he was talking about Wealth Simple account just now. So if he's talking about such basic things after 4 years of going to Canada, I'm sure he has paid already a fortune in taxes. So such kind of people, I'm sure, will get help from this content. So Behrouz, thanks a lot. In the end, towards the end of this video or podcast, what would you like to say?
No, Wali, thank you. Thanks a lot. I always enjoy these discussions. I always enjoy sharing knowledge. This is how I learned. It is very important for people to know not just how much salary they can make, but also how much they can take home and save and eventually invest and grow their wealth. There's a huge difference in between being rich and wealthy, and wealth is where the power lies, because it gives you optionality, as I talked before. It just gives you fancy things, which actually people don't even aspire to be that person in the car. So Morgan Housel says this a lot, which is, he said he was a valet in his youth, and he would see expensive cars come in the hotel where he was a valet, and he would never look at the person in the car. He would always look at the car and go like, I wish I had this car. While the person in the car feels that everyone is looking at him, no one is looking at the person in the car. Everyone is just looking at the car and going like, I wish I had this car. So anyways, thank you, Wali. Thanks for this session again, and thanks for you sharing some knowledge about and stories from your side as well, which I'm sure will also help a lot of viewers watching this video. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.